Welcome to lesson 2 of this series about learning Python through building the classic game of Snake. In this one we're going to learn about conditional flow in Python, the while, the for and the if statements. There's a couple of files you see on the screen there. Those files are in the GitHub repo and the link to that is in the comments below. This first file is the file that we finished at the end of the last session. In the last session it was all about setting up. We installed Python, we installed VS Code, we installed the Python extension into VS Code, we built a virtual environment, we pip installed the package into it, the Pygame package, and then we copied and pasted the code that you can see here. What this code does is to set up a Pygame window and to put a green rectangle right in the middle of it. That rectangle represents our prototype snake, and after 5 seconds it quits. By the end of this lesson we'll be able to change the colour of our snake, our rectangle, so that if we press the B key it will be blue, the R key would be red, and so on. We'll also make sure that our application stays alive and only exits once we close the window. That might not sound like much, but we are still writing a lot of the kind of foundation stuff, including what's called a Pygame game loop, and to do that we need the while, the if and the for statements. We're going to learn those in a separate script that we're going to run away from all the Pygame functionality so that we learn them. This is script learn conditional flow, and what you've got there is a comment to start it off, and that's the steps that we'll be taking. And if I come over here and run it, you can see that all it does at the moment is print out 2 statements, game started and game ended. Objectives and steps for this script are explained in the multi-line comment that you can see there. Basically we're going to ask the user to enter a word, we're going to spell out that word, and then we're going to assign a score based on points for each different letter in the word. It's going to mimic exactly the same conditional flow structure as we're going to have in our snake game. Let's get started. Let's write some code to capture a word input by the user. The AI is helping me here, that's fine, and I'll simply print out the word. That's good. So let's just try that. And let's say hello. Now let's use our first conditional flow statement, which is a for statement, and we're going to iterate over all the letters in a word. A word is a collection of characters, so I'm going to say for letter in word. That's good. And what I'm simply going to do is to just take the next statement, print the letter. That'll be fine for the moment. And let's look at that. And let's save that, and let's run that, and it's printed hello for us and all the letters. Let's just make that a tiny bit neater. We'll get rid of repeating that. We'll come along to our letter and we'll uppercase it, use the upper method, so we get that. And we'll put an end that looks good, so it's all in the same line, and we'll put a new line there so game over is printed on a new line. Again, let's have a look at that, and let's run that. Come over here, move that out of the way, that's better, and let's try hello again, and that's good, that's better. The next step involves quite a lot of code, so I've actually written it before we started recording, and let me take you through it. First of all, I've set a variable points to be equal to 0. I want to give the word a score based on points for each letter. And then I've written the first if statement, so what I've written is from here to here. We can see we've got an if statement, then we've got a if the letter lowercase is a lowercase z, we're going to add 5 points. If it's the next, we're going to add 4 points. If it's a vowel in the 5 vowels there, we're going to add 1 point. Otherwise, it must be a consonant. We're going to add 2 points. Once we've done that, we're just going to come to, outside the end of the loop, we're going to say that the word scored so many points. And let's just come along and run that. Again, I need to move that up, and I'll come along here and we run that, and I'll say hello, and hello scored 8 points. Almost there. The only problem now is that our script asks for one word and then exits. We want it to repeatedly ask the user for new words. So to do that, we're going to create a while loop. And so I'm going to come over here, and the first thing I've got to do is initialize our word to an empty string. So we've got to use it, and then I'm going to write my while loop. I'm going to say while word lower is not equal to exit. Okay, that's fantastic. And because it's a while loop in Python format is function, I'm going to take all of that and I'm going to indent it. I'll take that space out. So while the word is not exit, it's just going to loop through. Let's save that and try that. Control S. Come over here. And let's try hello as before. And it's asked for another word. I'll try a word with a Z in it. That's great. And now a word with an X in it. That's good. And now I'll do exit. And that's worked perfectly. Let's make our while loop a bit more Pythonic and a bit closer to the actual while loop we'll be writing in our snake game. So I can get rid of this word here. And what I can say is while true. Now, because that's true, this will never exit. So what I need to do is here is I need to break out of it. I'll stick with an if, and that's good. So we've got a break there. If the words is exit, and that will break out of the while loop. Let's save that. Let's come over and run it. Let's try a couple of words. That's worked. And there we go, perfect. One final tiny change so that our loop is almost exactly the same as the loop that we'll use in our snake game. I'm going to create a game variable called game over. I'm going to make it lowercase. There we go. And I'm going to say, instead of true, I'm going to say we're not game over. And rather than breaking here, I'm just going to set game over to be true. And we're going to run that. And that's worked fine. Moved on to the snake game script. We've understood our conditional flow. We're going to apply the same conditional flow structure to the snake game. You can see the comment here at the top, and it's got several steps in it, and what we're going to do is just apply the steps. There's a couple of Pygame specific steps. Instead of an input, we're going to have a clock, so I'm going to put a Pygame clock here just before we start the loop. It will be there, Pygame clock, and we're going to come along and we're going to add the game loop next. Let's write that game loop. We'll start off with a Boolean, game over, and then we're going to say while not game over. That's our while loop. What we're going to do is take these events. I'm going to come along here and we're going to look at we're looking at the events that have been done. Just look like as we went over the letters in the word, we've got a for loop there, and this first event that we want is if the Pygame is an event type, if we type quit, that's closing the window. Game over equals true, that's really good. And then we'll just print those events, and that's the good thing. We could just print those events because we can see what's happening. And what we're also doing is limiting that clock to tick at 5. And so what I've got to do as well is I've got to move that probably down here a bit. So instead of the delay there, we want it to tick, that's 5 times a second, and we've got to also move all this into the while loop. So we've got to indent it so it's in the while loop. Let's run the program to see if it's working as expected. The window comes up, but this time it doesn't disappear after 5 seconds. Also, because we had that print statement, you can see I've moved the mouse, we've got some print statements there. If I click the B key now, you can see that's the B key for blue. If I want to click an O to get an orange, it captures that. It's the key down, key up event, and so on. And I can also come over here and close the window. Great. The task is to actually make our snake change color. B when we blue when we click the B key, R for red, and so on. So to do that, we've actually got some color constants here that I put in the comments. I'm just going to come down and copy them to with the other color constants there. That's great. And then I'm going to come along and to our event. I'll leave that on actually. We'll just come along here, and what we're going to say is if the event is a key down event, we'll take that. And if it's B, then it's blue. I'll take if it's R, then we'll make the snake color red. And then if it's Y, then yellow. I think we've got a G, we'll get back to our green. And I think we have an O there. Snake color equals color orange. Now, what we've got to do as well is this is a snake color, we've got to initialize it up here. Let's come along and say snake color. We'll start off with a standard green. That's good. And what we want to do is when we want to draw our snake here, rather than always drawing it green, we're going to type in snake color. Let me just delete that first of all. And snake color. That looks good. Let's save it. Let's run it. We have our snake. I'm going to press the R key. I'm going to press the B key. That's looking great. That's the end of lesson 2. In our next lesson, we're going to make the snake move, and we're also going to make it look a bit more like a snake. So I look forward to seeing you then. Bye.